What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and it's time for another edition of the Tailgate Nate Power 30, where I go through and I rank what I believe to be the top 30 teams in the country. You can take my top 25, consider my AP ballot, whatever have you. This is the way that I would rank the teams as we currently sit this college football season. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. I'm a sports media graduate with a massive passion for everything going on in the world of sports, but that especially includes the world of college football. And if you want to hear everything I have to say this November, go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you're locked into everything going on the channel here as we get into the most important month of the college football season, at least in the regular season. And if you want to follow me on a more personal note and join me in my journey to reach as high as I can in the professional world of sports media, then follow me on social media at TailgateNate29, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever else you peruse the socials. Thank you all so much for supporting me in the channel in whatever way you may be doing so. With all that said and done and out of the way, you guys know I don't waste much more time with the intros. Let's just dive right on in to the top 30 teams. And right off the bat, we have two new group of 5 teams that are going to enter the mix. So South Florida has fallen out. I've sort of relooked and reevaluated the group of 5 race as it's starting to get a lot more figured out. Of course, Navy just lost this past week, and they're going to have a tough one coming up here with Notre Dame this week as well. That's going to be the NBC Saturday night game. So South Florida, you could include in the group of 5 conversation still, absolutely. But I'm looking at 2 new teams here, and I've talked about them before on the channel, but we can really start to spotlight these two, James Madison and North Texas. Let's start with the Dukes because this is a team that I just don't think enough people are talking about within that race, even myself included. I have said multiple times, I still fully believe that the group of 5 champion is going to come from the American Athletic Conference. Folks, James Madison is sitting right here. You even still want to go away from the American, and San Diego State is sitting right in plain sight in the Mountain West as well. They've been quite a nice surprise as Boise and UNLV have lost a couple games here and there. So along with San Diego State, I would watch out for James Madison as some group of 5 teams that can really make some noise. That's a Duke team that hey, their only losses to Louisville. Besides that, they've been very impressive this year. North Texas is sitting here as well. They just overall have played a very, very nice season. They have looked absolutely dynamic so far this year. And talk about what Drew Mestemaker has done for this team. I mean, my goodness, they're on bye this week, and then they have a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. I would find it pretty hard to believe that they miss out on a conference championship game. What may hold them back is their lone loss was to South Florida at home. So you can play that into the cards there as well. And you, again, could still argue, hey, South Florida deserves to be above North Texas. But I think the Mean Green playing some better football right now. Again, they just got the win over undefeated Navy. I've talked about Illinois before here on the channel. They did get the win this past week. They don't really move too much for me. Again, there are only 3 losses here. Ohio State, Indiana, the top 2 teams in the country, and then Washington, who is sitting right across from them now at number 23. They moved up in my last poll. So, again, I'm not really going to punish Illinois too much for that. I still believe that's a top 30 caliber team, just sitting right outside of the top 25. Here's a team I very highly consider to put in that so-called top 25. It's the Pittsburgh Panthers, and I'm not going to call my shot yet, but I did think that Pitt was going to be a pretty solid team entering the season, and it's just exactly what it's proven out to be. Pitt has been a pretty nice surprise out of the ACC so far this season. They do have a bye this week, but Pitt has still got some really important games coming up on the schedule. They have a game at home against Notre Dame. You got to go on the road and play Georgia Tech, and you're at home against Miami. That's the close to the season for this Pitt team. I mean, that is going to be a really important and tough stretch of games. They are still right in the thick of things for the ACC championship, still right in the thick of the things for the college football playoff. I mean, it's been a whole lot of things that have just gone right for Pitt, and you're seeing a platoon in a bunch of different positions, but overall things have worked nicely for the Panthers this year, and I'll go ahead and stick in my rankings for the first time this year at number 27. Number 26 is Iowa, just missing out on the top 25. Again, while it hasn't necessarily been pretty or flashy, the Hawkeyes have put together a good season, but boy, can they make a statement this week, huh? At home against Oregon. It really is a big opportunity for both of those teams, and we'll talk more about it once we get into the top 10. Spoiler, that is where Oregon will reside. But Iowa's just been playing Iowa football. They run the ball well. They play good defense. They're not super flashy really anywhere, but they can beat you in a ton of different ways, especially defensively, and they can definitely have the edge on special teams there as well. So the Hawkeyes will sit at 26. 25 is Memphis, and I've talked about this Memphis team before. They're just going to keep moving up the rankings because right now, I mean, in the American, it's kind of like picking a name out of a hat right now. I think there are tons of different teams in that conference that can still go wind up winning the thing. I mean, Navy, even with the loss, is still in the conversation. You have Memphis right there. You have South Florida. East Carolina has not played themselves out of that race at all. So it's still going to be a very interesting race in the American. I think that is the G5 conference that everybody is most closely watching, again, because of the teams that are in it. And just the way that people perceive, again, they think the Group of 5 champ is going to come from that conference. And I don't blame those people at all, but Memphis has been a good squad all year long. And yeah, the Tigers, again, lone loss to UAB. That's going to be the one upset in there. But otherwise, they have handled their business. Cincinnati is at number 24. I still like this Bearcat squad. And when you start taking a look now at the path to get to the conference championship for a lot of these teams, Cincinnati's path is very, very clear. You have a bye this week, and then you play Arizona. You have a home game against BYU, and you're on the road against TCU. So you beat BYU and you survive that road test there against TCU, against the Horned Frogs. Folks, the Cincinnati's got a great shot to make the college, or not the college football playoff, but the Big 12 championship game, especially if they beat BYU here in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, right? The second to last game of the regular season. Now, Houston, Utah, Arizona State, TCU, all right, they're all sitting there with 2 losses. It's the Big 12. You can never count those guys out. But I'm really looking at Cincinnati, man. I think getting BYU at home is really important, and that's absolutely a game right there, and a team overall that can make their push towards the conference championship game. Cincinnati's not going to go quietly here. I would watch out for that team. I think they're going to be pretty dangerous if they do get in to that spot. Couple Big Ten teams here, won't linger on them too much. Washington, again, their only 2 losses are to the team that's right above them in Michigan and to the number 1 team in the country. They've been playing some good football. Damon Williams is great. Jonah Coleman is one of the best running backs in the country, so on and so forth. Washington moves up after when they also do have a win again over Illinois, who I think is still a pretty solid team. The conversation gets interesting when you start talking about the way things can play out for Michigan. Now, it's going to be difficult, right? Bryce Underwood, I don't think has the necessary pieces around it to do what I think a lot of people expected him to do this year. And Justice Haynes just went down and had tightrope surgery and could potentially miss the rest of the regular season, although I would find it hard to believe that he doesn't come back and at least play that final game of the year in the game in Ann Arbor. So you are going to end up getting the freshman whose name, I don't know why is escaped my mind, Jordan Marshall. There you go. You're going to get the bulk load of carries from him, and he has had some really good games this year, so I'm not too worried about Michigan's run game, and the defense is pretty darn good. But they're setting themselves up in a spot now. They use this week to get right, and then for their final 2 games before they play the Buckeyes, you're on the road against really a tricky Northwestern team, and then you get Maryland on the road as well. So again, 2 road games that when you look at it, I think are pretty interesting. I think are going to pose their unique challenges, but they get past that. You're looking at a game in which Michigan can play themselves into the college football playoff if they beat Ohio State that final game of the regular season. And potentially, who knows, that might even earn them a berth to Indianapolis as well. Tennessee is here at number 21. Tennessee's got 3 losses to, albeit 3 teams that are going to sit ranked really, really highly in the country, and 3 teams that I definitely believe have the ability to be ranked inside of the top 10. Of course, Tennessee has lost to both Alabama and Georgia. Everybody is going to have them in their top 5. And then, last week you saw Tennessee fall at home to Oklahoma, a team that I believe you could make a case for them being inside of the top 10, in which, who knows, maybe you see that here in this video. Again, I still think Joey Aguilar's fit in well. The defense is overall not playing too bad. Tennessee definitely out of the SEC race, and they might be out of the college football playoff race as well, but it's still a team that I really, really like. Well, there's your spoiler. You don't see Oklahoma. They are in the top 10, but of course we have to start down there at number 20 with Missouri. Missouri's a team that, again, I'm not going to retroactively put lower because Bo Pribula is out. It's going to be really difficult for them to find some of these wins and to win these important games because, again, they win out. Their resume doesn't look too bad if they win out. They're going to end up getting a win here at home. Actually, their resume is going to look better than I thought, so apologies to all the Mizzou fans. Yes, you lost to Bama. Yes, you lost to Vandy. You pick up a win against A&M this week, that's huge. You pick up a win on the road against Oklahoma in a couple of weeks, that's going to be massive for you. But again, doing that without Bo Pribula, I think is going to be really, really tough and challenging, and that's the thing to watch with Missouri moving forward. USC just got a road win over a pretty darn good Nebraska team. Now, again, Dylan Raiola did go down with injury. He just had surgery, I believe, earlier today, if not yesterday, as of recording this video. So he's going to be out for the remainder of the season, and I don't even think he's going to come back for Nebraska's bowl game that they have locked themselves into. USC has got a massive chance to really boost up the resume over the next couple of weeks and really throughout the remainder of the season. Yes, you have that loss to Notre Dame on that schedule. Your only conference loss is that game against the Illinois Fighting Illini. Okay. You have a chance to pick up a win against Iowa, a team that the committee really respected. You have a chance to get a road win against Oregon. And then UCLA at the end of the year is not going to look like the greatest win, but be able to get that one in the rivalry game, build some momentum. Who knows? You could be talking about USC to get an at-large berth to the college football playoff. Now let's talk about Miami. Oh, Mario Cristobal, you did it again, didn't you? Miami drops a game last week to SMU. It was a historic win for that Mustangs program, a win that they got in overtime. And this is the Miami team that's just done it again. Every year when we get to this point, it seems like Miami, they have everything in front of them, and then they find a way to squander it. Now, is everything still in front of this Miami program? Yes. However, with those 2 conference losses, it's going to make it really, really challenging on them to try to break into the ACC championship game, which, based on the committee's first rankings, may very well be a 1-bid league. And if Miami can't get into the conference championship game, you're going to sit there and maybe at the end of the year, you're comparing a 2-loss Michigan team if they beat Ohio State, a 2-loss USC team, a 2-loss Utah team, maybe even a 2-loss Vandy team. Hell, even a 3-loss SEC team could be a Vandy, could be a Texas, could be an Oklahoma or a Tennessee. And Miami is going to fall quite the ways for me. I just think that this is the Miami team that needs a lot of help. If they win out, they're going to put themselves up for a pretty good case, and they have a game against Pitt, which is going to boost that resume there as well, as Miami does have Notre Dame as that nice resume booster right now, but getting that win on the road against Pitt, a team that the committee ranked in their top 25, I think going to be nice for them if they can get it done. Vanderbilt is here at number 17, and you lost on the road against Texas. Not really too much more that I can say there on that. Probably a result that a lot of people expected to happen. And everything's still in front of this Vanderbilt program, especially if they win out, right? Because next 2 games for Vandy, probably looking at pretty simple against Auburn and Kentucky. But you pick up that win on the road against Tennessee that final week. Again, Vandy's going to put themselves as a very nice case to get into the playoff. And I think Utah as well. Look at the way that the committee ranked Utah. Utah is a team that, look, I am ranking here at number 16, but again, everything is still in front of this Utes team. There are a ton of teams throughout the country. Even some teams that I believe probably could have been ranked by the committee that are unranked that still have a pretty nice path to try to break into the college football playoff, right? Well, Utah is a team that, look at the way the committee ranked them, and they really respected what this Utes team has done this year and just where they sit on the road against Baylor, at home against Kansas State, on the road against Kansas. Okay, that's a pretty nice road to close out the season. They do have losses to Texas Tech and BYU, who may very well be the top two teams. The schedule really is going to miss that big marquee win, aside from the game against Cincinnati. But again, the committee did not have them ranked, which I thought was interesting. Everything is still in front of the Utes, and when fully healthy, Devin Dampier is running wild, and this defense is playing at their best. Utah is a team that, look, man, they break into that field of 12. I'd watch out for them. There are a slew of ACC teams over there, but let's talk about Texas first. Texas is a team that I think is starting to find their groove, right? Arch Manning is starting to find his rhythm. I think this is the defense that is starting to play as a more nicely fit together, cohesive unit. And I just see this Texas team coming together, right? Well, they still got a game in a couple of weeks in Athens. Final week of the regular season, they get a home game against Texas A&M. And there are those moments for Texas to boost that resume, right? Their two losses so far, Ohio State and Florida. I know the Florida loss is going to look like what it was, but really on the road against a fairly talented team, one of the more difficult places to play in the SEC, you obviously saw how the committee is going to value that. But Texas is a team that I'm going to be cautionary about for now because we've seen those inconsistencies with the Longhorns this year. But if they just keep taking steps up, I mean, Texas is a team that, even with 3 losses, could be a player in the playoff conversation. And again, much like Utah, if they get into the bracket, watch out. ACC front runners are going to be right there from 14 to 12. Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Virginia all have pretty favorable roads to close out the season. I don't believe Pitt has to play any of those teams. So when you really take a look at things here, Virginia's got Wake Forest and Louisville's got Cal this week. I would really watch out Virginia for Wake Forest, as the Demon Deacons have given teams some trouble this year. Louisville still got a home game against Clemson. Now, Virginia does have a road game against Duke. That's going to be treacherous. Obviously, Georgia Tech has the game against Georgia, but that's not going to factor in towards the conference race. So really a combination of those 3 teams right there, plus the Pitt Panthers, I think are the teams that you're going to look at in contention to try to get into the ACC championship game. Georgia Tech, again, NC State has the privilege of being Virginia's only loss as well. So now NC State can say that about 2 teams. But for Georgia Tech, again, this is the team that's going to go as Haynes King goes. He's got to be dynamite for him. Louisville, starting to get that passing game going with Miller Moss, and the defense is still playing well. And then the Virginia Cavaliers, again, the blemish against NC State earlier in the year. Tony Elliott has got this team rolling. And if any one of these teams controls their own destiny, it is the Virginia Cavaliers right now. And I think Georgia Tech might even there as well. Notre Dame is up here at number 11 at 6-2. With all the chaos and everything going around the country, I mean, Notre Dame, yes, that loss to Miami doesn't look as great as it potentially could, but man, does that loss to Texas A&M still really, really burn, because you just keep thinking like, okay, what if we were able to survive there, right? What if we get that goal line stop and be able to get that win? Well, man, you're talking about Notre Dame as a top 10, maybe even a top 5 team in the country. I think you very well could make that case if they got that win. Alas, that is not the discussion we're having. However, the discussion we are having is that Notre Dame is still right in the thick of the playoff race. Absolutely. I think they are. The committee does, and I'm ranking them as such. In the top 10, I'm not going to touch too much on the top 10 because it really didn't change all that much besides Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech dropping out, BYU moving up, and Texas Tech and Oklahoma entering as they move up as other teams above them did fall. So we'll start with the Oklahoma Sooners, and this is the team that I think you're going to look, and it's going to be one of those contending teams to say, wow, there is a 3-loss team out of the SEC. I think Oklahoma could very well enter that discussion because Oklahoma still has a tricky game, right? Well, while it is not this week, Oklahoma next week has got to go on the road to play the Alabama Crimson Tide. Well, that could be your third loss right there after a loss to Ole Miss and Texas. Again, Texas could be a 3-loss team that gets into the conversation, and Oklahoma can still build that resume with a win at home against Missouri, a team that the committee has ranked. So we could talk about the SEC forever. It's going to get really interesting in the thick of the playoff race, but bam, Oklahoma sitting right there at number 10 for me. 8 and 9 is BYU and Texas Tech, and I mean, we're just going to find out everything about these two teams this week, aren't we? They battle on the gridiron in Lubbock this week. So I think that gives Texas Tech a big leg up. And I saw they were, last time I checked lines, a double-digit favorite. That shocks me a little bit, but Texas Tech, while they do have the more talented roster, in my opinion, and again, still for my money's worth, have looked like the best team in the Big 12 for most of the season, you have to value what BYU has been able to do and keep this undefeated record. But again, now it's go time for the Cougars. We really find out what this team is made of. A road game against Texas Tech, couple weeks, a road game against Cincinnati, and some other tricky ones at home to close out the season there, and nothing is ever set in stone in the Big 12. Still in the driver's seat, oh, absolutely, but the chaos of the Big 12 can strike at any point. Oregon is here at number 7, and I believe I talked about it last week, but there is a massive opportunity for this Ducks team that I think is going to feel a little bit disrespected by the committee who put them at 9. I have them at 7 because I see the same thing that the committee does, right? They just don't have that quality win on the schedule yet. Penn State was supposed to be it, and you're not necessarily faulting Oregon for it, but just compared to what other teams have on the resume, Oregon does not have that big win yet. Again, the one true test so far at home, they did lose to Indiana. On the road at Iowa, at home against USC, on the road against Washington. Those are 3 of their next 4 games, and even beating a Minnesota team that probably is going to make a pretty decent bowl game, not going to look too bad either. So Oregon's got a great chance to boost this resume as the season moves forward here in this month of October. Ole Miss is there at number 6, Georgia at 5, Bama at 4, A&M at 3. I really don't know what more anyone wants me to say on these 3 teams. Right now, that is the pecking order in the SEC. A&M and Bama obviously in that driver's seat as they both sit with undefeated records in the conference. A&M, one of only 4 unbeaten teams left in the entire country. In fact, you see all unbeatens in the country ranked here in my top 10. There's still work to do for every program in the SEC. Ole Miss, though, they definitely have the most favorable schedule to close things out. That is absolutely true, as they do have the Citadel this week, and then Florida at home, a bye. You go on the road and you play the Mississippi State Bulldogs, your rivals. But Ole Miss is going to need some help to try to break into the conference championship game. Georgia has that tie-breaking win over them, and the Dogs have looked pretty solid right now. Again, they still have some games to really go and figure out. Of course, that one on the road in Atlanta against Georgia Tech is going to be the one everyone watches. At home against Texas is another really big contest. And then Bama has got them too, right? Bama still has the big games left on their schedule. LSU this week, I know it's not going to look like as impressive of a win as it could have, but still a chance to slightly boost that resume. They'll really get a boost if they beat Oklahoma in a couple of weeks. And then the Iron Bowl, you never know what can happen, man, on the road in Auburn, Alabama. And then for Texas A&M, you still got to play Texas. You have a road game against Missouri this week. Still a lot of football left to be played in the SEC. Top 2 teams are still sitting pat. Ohio State at number 1. Again, I'll say it until it happens. I feel like they just have an extra gear that we haven't seen, and maybe some people are not expecting this team to bring. And then Indiana has been relentless all season long. For Indiana, it should be a cruise into the Big Ten championship game. For the Ohio State Buckeyes, it all rides November 28th, the game in Ann Arbor. That's the game a lot of college football fans are going to be circling right now. Later on today, college football playoff predictions. Yes, as of week 11, college football playoff predictions are going to be coming at you later on today. Later on today, we will be getting those to you, and stick with the same format we had in the preseason. We'll talk a little bit about the playoff committee rankings in that video there as well. So, hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all y'all later on today. Goodbye.